Hello, welcome back to the Gay Racing Podcast. Hello. There you go. I didn't like being on the bottom. That was I forgot to. I messed that one up. It's all right. We're good. Welcome back to the Gay Racing Podcast. Not the best intro, but it was a bit of a messy weekend of racing, at least at Chicago. Yep, claps.
Mm-hmm.
We're clapping for Alex Moman. We are here today to talk about. We had a busy weekend of racing. NASCAR was at Chicago, and of course, as you see, it's not just me and Alex today. We have Jackson Todd joining us, GRP
Hello.
regular at this point.
Yeah.
Second time this year that you've been on, at least.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, we had you on after Kansas as always, and well, Chicago Street Course, new event, and now we have a third weekend where it's a guaranteed Jackson Todd appearance. So it's great.
No, I'm honored. Thank you for having me back again.
Yeah, and you were at Chicago this weekend. You're very familiar with the city. We're gonna get your take on the second year of this event and all that, and we'll also touch on IndyCar at Mid Ohio, I guess.
Definitely mid.
Definitely mid. And then Lewis Hamilton's comeback at the British Grand Prix, breaking the winless streak that me and Alex actually watched. So yeah, cool episode today. But Chicago's our focus right now. We're gonna talk about NASCAR Chicago. And Alex, Jackson, there's been there's always a lot of like controversy around this event. It feels like, oh, I want to be a Chicagoland instead, or the actual smart people being like, well, we should be at Daytona instead on July 4th weekend. But that's neither here nor there. But so Jackson, I kind of want to ask you, like, this event, obviously Saturday was great with the Xfinity Series. The weather looked fantastic. Weather not so fantastic yesterday. How are you feeling? Like, do you feel dampened at all by the rain? What's the vibe?
Yeah, I mean, I still got all kinds of wet clothes and racing gear laying around here. The vibes are good. I feel like it was at least. I feel like considering how awful last year was, like this. I mean, it felt like nothing. I don't know. Like, it was wet. It was raining. It was pouring rain, but like. I took maybe two bathroom breaks. Other than that, I was just up in the grandstands. I was like, I don't care. I'm not going to go pout under the tent. I'm just going to hang on the grandstands. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to take in the sights. And I did. And I don't know. I think just switching the mindset a little bit and being like, who cares? I'm at a rain delay, but I'm at a rain delay on Michigan Avenue at a NASCAR race. Like, what? So I just took that kind of mindset and enjoyed it.
Now, for those that don't know, Jackson, you live in Chicago, and we had you on last year after the inaugural Chicago street race. And of course, that was like a flood happened, and they got a race in. We had SVG winning. Lots of cool things happened. Year two, of course, we had rain again. There was only a 30% chance of rain on Sunday, by the way, and got rain again. But I'm curious, as you live in Chicago, what were the vibes as for the overall city? Because it's a lot of casuals. That's what NASCAR's going for. Mm-hmm. What was the kind of vibe with all them, and were people as interested as last year?
I think, I don't know, we were kind of texting about this, and I feel like, I don't know, just like saying it this way is like, I don't want to, makes it sound bad, but like, it was just another event, like down in Grant Park. Like, it wasn't, I feel like last year it was like, oh my God, the NASCAR thing, 4th of July weekend, it's going to be a disaster, they're closing all the roads, like, I felt like it's a bigger deal last year, obviously, but this year it's just like, oh yeah, NASCAR weekend is like, whatever. And like people at work were like, oh, are you going this year? And I'm like, yeah. Like it wasn't, I don't know. Does that make sense? It wasn't as big of an ordeal. It was just like, it's like, oh, Lala's coming up, or, oh, like, it's NASCAR weekend, or, oh, this,
When I lived in Richmond for a little bit, like when the streets would get closed for the marathon or whatever, it'd be like, oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's just something that happens in the city. And I think NASCAR is a bit of a bigger scale. It's taking up many blocks and such. But and I mean, I think it could be one of those things where it's just, something that people in Chicago expect if it becomes tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's always like conversations if there's like pushback from the city, like does the city actually want this? But then Sunday you see the mayor in a fire suit, so I don't know, it looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, I think the two big pieces for this year, which were, I mean, these are the complaints that like people had last year, was the city didn't get enough money. Well, NASCAR paid another $2 million this year that they did not pay last year, and the setup takedown time, it took 5 less days. You know, basically a week less of track construction. So those are the two big concerns, and they were addressed going into year two. And like, I mean, I don't know. It kind of, I don't think it's that big of a. I mean, it closes some roads, but like this is a. I'm a Lakeshore Drive kind of hater. I don't like Lakeshore Drive over there. It's kind
Why?
of annoying that it's this giant highway that like goes along the lakefront,
Oh,
and so the whole lakefront
no.
along Chicago is the park. That's like the whole thing.
Hmm.
It's public access like land, and there's this like just giant highway that goes through the middle of it.
Oh, yeah,
So
that is
I
kind
don't
of
know.
dumb. It's like dividing this
Yeah. So
beautiful
yeah.
park from the water. Yeah,
Right.
that's a
So
little
yeah,
dumb.
from like the city, so you have to like go underneath these bridges and all that. So anytime Lakeshore Drive gets shut down, I'm like, yeah, find an alternate way. Like, so anyway, I mean, it doesn't affect me. Like, I mean, I kind of like live and work in the same neighborhood here. I'm like walking or taking a train or bus. Like, I live a very not car reliant life. I couldn't care less what roads are closed.
Liberals.
So, but yeah, yeah.
Just kidding.
No, I know. No, I'm like, I say all that, and people are like, "You're into racing," and I'm like,
I bet
think
you
cars
love
should be
that
driven for
electric
sport
car.
only. I did. I saw
We'll get
it.
into
It was
that later,
neat. It
but
was neat. Yeah, but yeah, the vibes were. I don't know. It was just kind of another event downtown. It was kind of cool that it was just like, oh yeah, the NASCAR race. It was just a
it's
casual
cool that
whatever.
it's not like a it's like it's not like a big it's still a big deal, but it's not like a
Yeah,
NASCAR Chicago. It's just okay,
yeah,
yeah. It's the week
yeah,
it's their weekend. Pretty cool.
yeah.
And there were pictures on social media and everything that like people were still interested. Like, last year people were like trying
Oh
to
yeah.
climb the fence and everything, and NASCAR moved like
Hmm.
the signage onto the inside of the fence so they can't tear it down
Hmm.
this time. But people were still like standing there and trying to check it out or standing and just kind of
Oh yeah.
looking over and just seeing what's going on. So there was still a
Yeah.
general interest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there were people just, miscellaneous people from my life that are not, necessarily like racing or even sports interested at all that were asking me, like, can I get tickets? What tickets should I get? And just giving them a rundown. I'm like, if you're interested in going, you're probably going to pay a little bit. You might need to have a little bit more than a casual interest to go dump for. But if you know with anyone with an apartment that can look over Grant Park, like,
That's
go hang
cool.
out with them for the afternoon. Like, so I mean, just like even like someone like an acquaintance from like maybe like school a long time ago, like their Instagram story, and I'm just clicking through and I'm like, oh, there's a video of the race. Like I'm gonna talk to this person and whoever, and I know they don't care about this, but there's the race on their Instagram story from their window. So just little things like, I don't
And
know, it's in your face. You have to see
that's
it.
the value of this event. That's why NASCAR bringing this event, similar to kind of the LA Clash, bringing this event right in the middle of the city where there's
Yeah.
tons of people and they are, for better or worse, they're being exposed to NASCAR. That's how you
Hmm.
get new fans. That's how you get people
Yeah.
at least talking about your sport,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in this, like, I mean, in the it's the best advertising there is. Like, just
Yeah.
you don't have to tell people your product is cool. Just give them your product. I don't know.
And
Seems like a pretty obvious good
right.
thing.
And for us NASCAR fans too, like I feel like I know there's always a lot of like pushback against the street course. So, NASCAR does not have a huge history of racing on street courses, right? But um and I said this last year, this event felt very well done. And and I said this last year even after all the rain. This event felt very well done. They felt very prepared and the racing was pretty good for what we saw. And it's something unique on the schedule. We never get to see this ever, right? Like seeing Kyle Larson and SVG slug it out on the streets, the bumpy streets going over a bridge, traffic in the background. That's just so unique. And you don't get this anywhere else as a NASCAR fan, right? And I have to say, after year two, especially seeing,
I mean,
Saturday not
well,
affected by weather at all, I'm just like, yeah, this is great.
and
Like, I'm
I
so
and
thankful this is on the schedule.
even on top of that, like you don't just not see that in NASCAR. Like you don't see that kind of I mean, I'm sticking to, F1, IndyCar, NASCAR here, but like you don't see that in racing kind of period. All these street circuits, like we know that these F1 street circuit, these like fake street circuits that they're doing, like that's not just like in a park in downtown in the same way that this is literally like just across the street. There's people looking out their window. Like the whole thing in Vegas was like they're blocking all these windows, and this is
It was
truly
so
just
much
like
drama with it.
a
Yeah,
race
like
around the park, and like the trains going over in the back. Like, I mean, I'm just thinking like people were talking about like Long Beach as being kind of like the only kind of like the most comparable like thing in the way that it's like kind of more of an event like in the city rather than like, because like I don't know, it's just I love Chicago. That's why I live here. I
yeah,
think
like
it's a
NASCAR
beautiful
dropped.
place. I love Grant Park. Like,
Yeah, like NASCAR kind of
they
dropped their
didn't
event
just
in the
pick
middle of
some
the city,
random.
but they're not
Yeah.
like F1 where they're like, well, you have to pay $1,000 if you want to see it.
Yeah,
Like, like, yes, it's still like, you still got to get a ticket to actually like kind of see the race like officially, but it's not like they're trying to gatekeep, I guess, which is definitely kind of the vibes from F1 Las Vegas and stuff. And in general, I mean, for it being a street course, and when this track was revealed, everyone's like, it's gonna be so hard to pass. Girl, it really isn't that hard to pass. I mean, we saw plenty of passing.
yeah.
Yeah. And well, let's kind of get into the race, and we can talk more about if we think this race will return or if it should return later.
I have
But
an
Alex
argument to make
Bowman,
for something. Yeah, go ahead.
Alex Bowman ended up breaking an 80 race winless streak. And this was the day of ending winless streaks. We'll talk about IndyCar and F1 here in a bit as well. But really solid race overall. And when we did get racing, like when it wasn't under yellow flag or we weren't delayed, I was really, really enjoying what we saw. And at the end of the race, Tyler Reddick was on the slick tires, was catching up on Alex Bowman, who was on the wet tires. This was so much fun to watch. I was very engaged. Reddick was closing. Bowman had a pretty big gap after getting ahead of Joey Hand on that last restart. And by the way, Slay of the Week to NASCAR for letting the teams choose which tires they wanted. Because we didn't get that at New Hampshire. We got live pit stops as well.
Yeah,
like that really made this race so compelling and different. We wouldn't have gotten this if they mandated which tire they were on. It was fun.
It was so cool. Sitting there and scanning like all these different teams, being like, okay, you're gonna have this one lap. Like you're gonna have to decide on this one lap. Are we doing the wets? Are we doing the slicks? And then like Ryan Blaney's like asking what Harrison Burton's doing, and like the teams are like, okay, well, do we need to split our drivers and like have one person try this and one person try that? And then watching them like use the little straightaway to try to like test their grip and then give the feedback. That was just such a. That's racing. That's just the sport. It's so
we
cool.
talked about this after New Hampshire. Like these crew chiefs and these teams are so smart.
Yes.
They are so smart.
Yes.
They know what to do. And like we saw teams yesterday pick differing strategies, and honestly, they were working at different times. I mean, we saw at the end of the race, Alex Bowman on one strategy, Tyler Reddick on another, and they were about to meet until Tyler Reddick choked it, right? I mean, that's what you want in racing. That was a perfect scenario. So it's kind of giving me hope that next time, I know ovals are so different than what we saw at Chicago with the wet tires. I just hope like next time we have a New Hampshire situation, NASCAR like remembers, that Chicago race was so good when we just let the teams do whatever they want. Maybe we'll just let them do whatever they want here at this oval, right? That's my hope. But congrats to Alex Bowman. And I've been driving Chicago on iRacing all week. It's not an easy track, right? Especially, I can't imagine when it's wet, right? And Alex Bowman did not put a foot wrong on that whole last run when he was very patient, but still kind of aggressive when he was battling Joey Hand, stage 2 winner Joey Hand, right? In the 60 RFK car. He didn't make contact with him though. He didn't move him out of the way, right? And this is for a playoff spot for Bowman, right? And he's took his time. He got past him cleanly, and he knew Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell were coming fast, Ty Gibbs even, but he didn't make a mistake. He stayed consistent, and he won the race, right? And to celebrate, I put on my Disney shirt. I even got Alex Bowman on the back here in a little wizard hat. So pretty cool. I think it's actually, this is like a whole Hendrick Motorsports t-shirt, I think. That's how it works in the blue. Because he's so pretty.
If you are not on video, it's a Disney shirt, and Mickey Mouse is in the middle. So there's that for you. but
You
love
celebrated.
the Alex Bowman merch. Yes. Thank you, Zach. And Jackson, I wanted to ask you, because you were telling me that if you were seeing Reddick close in from the stands and you were thinking that Reddick was going to making the pass right in front of you. So what were you thinking, and how in the know were you of the strategies being at the track?
I don't know how much that was me just being like delusional and like, oh my God, it's going to happen. But I thought, I mean, it was pretty clear Reddick was obviously on his way up. I didn't realize this until I watched the highlights, but he was 13th on that final restart. Like the Ricky Stenhouse Jr. flop, like gave him some positions, but also didn't like exactly help him a ton either. But yeah, it was pretty clear he was catching him. I think, I mean, he was those last few laps. I mean, he was getting like 3-4 seconds a lap. Like I don't think I'm making that up. And the way it was setting up, it seemed like he wasn't going to make the pass in 6th there. Maybe when they came around, but I think the difference might have been when they were coming around. They kept on calling it like the fountain, but
I know. I thought it was a fountain. Like, it's not a fountain. There's no fountain.
But when they were, I think the moment would have been. I think Bowman would have had to kind of feather it more around there, whereas Reddick could have just launched it into that little short straight in front of me. God, and then, if not in 11 or 12, I think that could have been the moment where Reddick did it. But,
and I have to say, I mean, Bowman is so lucky. Again, Mickey Mouse, that like Stenhouse is being a terrorist. And like,
because there would have been a pack of them all coming after him.
Bell and Gibbs were ahead of Reddick, right? Yeah. And if I'm not remembering wrong, right? I mean, I thought Gibbs was going to catch him at a point until, again, there was just so many kerfuffles going on off turn 2.
Yeah. Kerfuffle.
Yeah, and that Reddick was just like the lone survivor that like actually,
he was
got even a chance to get up there.
And can we talk about Tyler Reddick for a minute, because this guy is having such an interesting season to me. He's having a really good season. I mean, because he's 3rd in the regular season standings, I believe. And the thing about Reddick is that he could have won so many races this year, which, you know, on one hand, that's great, because Tyler Reddick he's kind of new to being a every single week race winning contender. That's something new for him, and it's great. It's a step he needed to take. It's something I said in my preseason tier list. He's not really there. He's not really contending for wins every single week yet, right? He's not consistent enough. I think it's like he's kind of consistent, but he's also not consistent at all, because there's a lot of these like wins that he's kind of thrown away. I mean, you know, Las Vegas when he was battling Larson, that is what it is. He just lost to Larson, finished 2nd. That's great. The Darlington moment with Chris Buescher, that was kind of a moment of desperation. Probably didn't need to make that move. Last week at Nashville, he was very demoralized when he kind of guessed wrong on the air blocking with Logano, and he couldn't get past him, even though he had like fresher tires, right? And now for him to kind of throw, I think he would have passed Bowman. There's no way in my mind that he would have not gotten to Bowman. He threw that away. Right? I mean, he made a mistake. And again, it's a hard track. It's wet. It's dark. How dark was it, Jackson?
They nailed the timing. That as I was walking out, I was like 5 more laps would have been too long. Like they had some little light machine out there the day before testing that. I mean, they nailed the timing. Like it was exactly where I would have thought. It was like, as we were walking out, I was like, it's like dark now. Like they hit it.
Yeah,
right
like. It doesn't surprise me that like Reddick's going to make a mistake like that, right? It's just like, I don't want to be Tyler Reddick right now, because he's thrown away so many, not thrown away, but like he's left so many wins on the table. But like on the bright side though, he's got speed and he still finished 2nd. At least he didn't throw that away.
Well, and speak of the darkness, Jackson, NASCAR threw out a notice during the first like little rain delay, like, hey, this race will end at 8:20 local time. We'll add 2 laps after this timer would end. And if you're saying that's right, they nailed it. This is a great call. They did
Slay of the week.
Did it early. Slay of the week, right?
Slay of the week.
It's a great call.
I love NASCAR. Oh my God. That was such a good call, because
now
what they did at New Hampshire that one year was so stupid.
Right. But however, there are some issues I had here. One, they should not have thrown the stage yellow for stage 2. They should have just said, we're changing our rules. Like, this is... I
don't know.
Y'all, no. They take way too long on
Nope.
these yellow flags.
You
They
can't.
wasted like
I don't
I don't
think you
like
can
that.
change
10 minutes.
Actually,
procedures like that.
I don't know. I don't think I mean, weren't they? I don't know what number, but I think most of them were quickie yellows, weren't they? Like,
It
I
was
don't
a
know. I didn't think
pretty
the yellows
lengthy
were that long.
yellow.
It.
Yeah, but if
I don't know.
teams were like
I don't.
planning their strategy
Then
around having a
right.
caution at the end of stage 2,
Yeah.
that's kind of like unfair to them.
And
You know
that's
what I
the
mean?
No.
thing.
I think you're
I
adding
think
an
Bowman
extra thing.
made the right call by staying out, and obviously he won the race. Just one little caution that killed another 5 minutes with this timer. So then you have an automatic like 8,
Eh.
9 minutes with the stage yellow, then you get another yellow, which
But
they
I
got.
think
Less
okay.
time to defend.
Counterpoint here. Before the rain delay, teams were banking on that stage caution there. So if you're taking that out, instead of just impacting the end of the race, you're also impacting this midpoint. Whereas at least you're still consistent to this point, and you're only changing the end of the race. So like, whereas that end point is there, having the uncertainty of the stage caution, I think keeping it there, that's important.
I think.
I mean, I don't think we should have stage cautions on road courses in general.
That's my argument.
Keep it there. Yeah.
So you're saying if they didn't have the yellow for stage 1, you'd be fine with it? That's what you're saying?
Well,
oh yeah.
You can't.
I mean,
in my
I think-
opinion, if you take the green flag with the intention of throwing stage yellows, you can't change it.
Yes.
Fair enough. But I think with the timer, they can make up their own rules. They should have done that. Give enough notice. Don't do it like, hey, 2 laps to the end of the stage, we're not going to throw a yellow. That would
Right.
No, don't do that.
Right, because then they'd have to make that call at some point instead of saying,
right.
Here we are going into the weekend. We know 8:20 is this point.
But do you have one more thing, Zach?
The most egregious. They wasted enough time under caution, and I don't think the end of stage 2 was like the biggest. What's it called? The end of stage 1 where they ran around 3 laps under caution till the end of the stage. That was dumb.
That was dumb.
That was
but
dumb.
It's also like, can't they rule when a stage ends? Like I was texting Zach about this. I feel like they can be like, this is going to be the end of the stage. But I thought maybe it was like a competition caution.
A restart?
I don't know.
I know it's raining, but like, I don't know.
My most egregious moment in that, which I don't know, when they first called the drivers to their cars, after the lengthy rain delay, they called the drivers to their cars. And so like everyone started filing back up in the stands, like, okay, we just had this like 30-minute rain delay, like we're about to go again. And then that like 10-minute cell like popped down. They could have just been running their like caution laps, doing their pit stops during that rain. But instead they're like, okay, we're shutting the engines back down. So then everyone left after a lot of people that made it through the first rain delay did not make it through the shorter one. Like people bailed at that point because it's like, okay, well, here we go again for 30 minutes. And then we had to waste more time under yellow when we could have done that like during the rain. Like you weren't going to be racing anyway. You knew it was a short cell. That in terms of like wasting time, that was the one that annoyed me the most.
And that goes back to how many potential fans did they push away? Like even just watching on TV, right? And it's not their fault, right?
Oh,
I mean, it is kind of with a decision, but it's also like the weather that's out of their control. Yeah. So that's why I really hope to do a third year. But another thing about the whole time thing, rare flop of the week to NBC Sports because they handled this so annoyingly. We're talking about them in IndyCar too. Their graphics department flop of the week.
They're having a bad year.
IMSA, they literally cover IMSA, and they have the ability to put a timer clock down where the lap counter is, and they didn't do it so they had the lap counter, which meant nothing, and they had the countdown in the bottom right.
Surely
and it wouldn't
it's
be
not
there all
that
the time.
complicated of a change.
Wouldn't they literally use it
IMSA.
in like NASCAR practice and qualifying?
Yes, actually. Yes.
Like it's already in there. It's got to be in their NASCAR whatever programming somewhere.
Then
Good point.
and also because my initial only counterpoint was just like, like if it's something that's set up very specifically, then maybe it's hard for them to change it because like IMSA's also got the different classes and stuff, so maybe it's something that's different with like the program they use or whatever. I don't know. I'm gay. But
they could have worked on it the entire rain delay.
I mean, they had exactly. And also like the wet and dry tires. Is that what you were gonna say?
Well, the other thing about the timer is that they could have done it after the end of stage 2, and someone replied that to me. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then they still didn't do it. because like we need to know how many laps are left till stage 2. It's like, okay, sure. They still didn't do it. That annoyed me. It's like it's a little grievance, but it's like no one, like if you're a casual fan, you don't know when this race actually ends. You're gonna see, oh, they have 20 laps till 75, but then they're saying that there's a clock, but I don't. Where's this clock at? It wasn't on screen the entire time. It was
That's
weird.
crazy.
But then, yeah, Zach, they had the slicks and the wet all in text on the graphic to indicate which tire they were on. And it looks like they were just saying they all sucked. It looks like it says sucks.
Yeah.
And it's goofy.
Sucks and wet. Sucks and wet.
And again,
Alex, are you on sucks or are you wet?
I'm not answering that question. But again, in NBC,
also,
they cover IndyCar. At least up to this point, they cover IndyCar. They can put what tire they're on. They have that feature, but they don't use it. What are they doing?
Not to play devil's advocate. But the thing is, like F1 and IndyCar can use the different tire colors and just put the tire colors because they use them every week. And if you watch IndyCar and F1 every week, you already know what those mean. Because NASCAR doesn't use wet tires every week, I think it might get a little, like some people might see the colors and be like, what does that mean? Right?
Instead of putting
to that,
sucks, it's to put dry instead of sucks.
Well, yes, they should have said just dry tires, right? But I think the easy solution, put the colors of the Goodyear icon or whatever, or a tire or whatever, have a little legend, kind of where they had the timer. Move the timer to where it needs to go. Where the timer is, put a little legend. Yellow means slicks or sucks, and white means wet. Right? That's all they need to do.
Fair.
NBC.
It should be blue. It should be blue though. That's my take from the weekend.
Well, yeah, but the actual tires
yellow.
are white. But yeah, no,
the yellow
right.
and the yellow and white, they look the same. The sidewall, the lettering should be blue. It's water
because it's
blue.
wet.
Come on.
Yeah.
And also that way it would look different than the yellow.
Yeah. They should just copy.
And those are Goodyear's colors. They're blue and yellow anyway. Like come
on.
It's all falling into place.
Yeah. Oh. No, for real.
Or Noah Sweet made a design once where it was like kind of like a white wall. Like, you know, in cars, it's like a
white wall tire.
Like, yeah, Noah Sweet made a design like years ago. It looked great. So you could do like a blue wall, yellow wall, white wall, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
That looked sweet.
So, yeah, NBC really disappointed me this weekend, honestly. And I don't know if I've ever said that, quite frankly. You all know, if you're a longtime listener, I've always been very hard on Fox, but this was a very disappointing weekend for them. They were doing a great job with presentation. They really hyping this race up. It felt like a crown jewel event on TV, which I really think this event can be a crown jewel, and I get why they were doing that. But just a lot of things were handled weird. Not just here, but also in IndyCar. Yeah. Do you have something to say, Jackson?
Well, I was just gonna. I mean, I didn't watch it. Do you feel like the presentation? Do you think they kind of like kept up with what they did last year? Like, was it still presented like in that top tier of like? Because last year it was like they did like it was Nashville and Chicago. Like these were their big two right out of the gate. This year it was a little different.
Yeah, they did radio style again, and I think it's good. And they had Mike Bagley again, who I think was great. Dylan Welch replaced Dale Jr., who I thought was excellent in my opinion. I thought Dylan Welch was the highlight.
I think he could do a little bit better. There were times where it's like I kind of wish he was talking about like there's just moments where I wish like Dylan, and honestly kind of all of them, were just talking about like, oh, he just gained so much in that braking zone, right? Instead of just being like, this car's following this car and this car's like that's where radio style on TV doesn't work, when it's like talking about like they're trying to paint the picture when it's like I can already see it. Maybe point out the fact that this guy just gained so much in the braking zone or something. That I don't remember the specific examples.
I want to say Jeff Burton should not keep doing radio style.
Jeff Burton cannot handle that. He does not have that dog in him.
I did gather that from the clips I watched.
I don't mind him in the booth, but you know, last year he had a stroke trying to say Shane Van Gisbergen.
And here comes Almond Van Gisbergen.
Yeah, he said Almendinger instead of Almendinger instead of
he said Almond Van Gisbergen.
But then maybe it was a technical issue. But at one point, Rick's like, "Here's Jeff. Jeff, they're coming down to you." And Jeff doesn't say anything. The producers saved us.
The producers said, "Nah, go ahead and log off for me. Go ahead and log off for me."
Listen, Jeff.
I don't mind Jeff Burton in the booth. He's not cut out for radio style. It's too much.
The Burtons are having a tough week.
The Burtons are having an awful week.
But let's go back to the race. Speak of Shane Van Gisbergen or Alman Gisbergen, whatever Jeff Burton said. He ended up leading early and he won stage 1, but he ended up crashing out after contact with Chase Briscoe, who I think wrecked at every opportunity he was on camera. Bummer for SVG.
Him and Josh Berry were competing. Now that they both have rides, they were just competing. They couldn't compete over rides anymore. So like, well, how many times can we wreck? I bet I can wreck more than you.
Ironically, the one SHR car who did not crash was Gregson, which I find hilarious.
Did Priest wreck it all?
Yeah.
Priest did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't remember. They were just wrecking so much, I forgot. And they also all look the same too.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, see, they're not even all sponsored by
the red and blue.
Week,
the 3 patriotic cars in the race. Everyone else is just normal stuff. And the 3
I know. I love how
SHR,
everyone else
red,
is just
blue.
like. Yeah, no one else did any 4th of July stuff. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Happy 4th of July. I'm going to go straight into the barrels for our troops real quick. But
Chase Briscoe needs to stop. I love he has ruined so many good moments over the years.
There's a lot.
Like when he about took out Larson at the 600, took out Hamlin at the Indy Road Course. What did he do last year? He did something last year.
Yeah.
Bristol Dirt.
Yeah, Bristol Dirt with Reddick.
Or
Indy
somebody Road Course with Denny.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
Stop,
man. The big events too. He's taking out the leader at big events.
Or the favorite, right? Like this. Yeah, he's a bad luck charm, dude. Like he kept Larson and Hamlin from having valuable playoff points that they needed.
But going back to Shane Van Gisbergen, it looked like we're heading toward another SVG story here. He does get clipped by Briscoe, and it looks like it takes him out. That was very unfortunate. But he ended up winning the Xfinity race the day before, so it's not like he has everything.
Yeah.
Too bad. He's leading the Xfinity points right now, at the playoff grid.
The playoff grid.
Yeah.
I think it's. I don't know. I haven't seen him race on an oval yet, so I don't know the crowd reaction. But like, I don't the crowd. I assume people like him everywhere, but I feel like it's a little bit of like Chicago. Like he's our guy. Like this. Well,
they're the only NASCAR driver they know.
Yeah, so it was. I don't know. It's just interesting that like all these people that have like only gone to the street course are like, oh yeah, as that's
the
Shane,
GOAT right there. Like, that's the NASCAR champion.
And that's right. It's just kind of funny that they're like, because like when he got taken out, you would have thought it was like literally. I don't know, like a big name getting taken out, but it's just like this one. I don't know. It's just kind of weird how that kind of.
I think Chicago and SVG are special to each other. I think it's kind of a weird relationship like that. My only thing with SVG is that obviously he wasn't like leading and running away with it. Of course, it was like mixed conditions, so maybe he was like feeling it out, being a little conservative. And my other thing is that yesterday was a bit of a strategy race, and that 16 team doesn't really have that dog in them. You know what I mean? Like, so I would have been curious on what would have happened to SVG if he's still in that race. What strategy does he go on?
It was. I was listening to the Todd Gilliland radio at one point. It was at the decision point. I guess. It would have been in somewhere. Maybe it's at the end of stage 1. But like they just told. I don't know if it was someone telling Todd or someone telling another spotter. Chris was like, just do what the 16 does. Just do what the 16 does.
Because Shane would probably. I guess he would probably feel confident enough to go on slicks early at the end of stage 2, and then does he have the talent to get up through the pack? Probably.
Yeah, and also the confidence, and like people would trust him to like make the call from like inside the car versus like the spotter or somebody talking about how it's drying out.
That's true. So that probably would have been fine then. That was just
after SVG was taken, it looked like Bell was the new favorite. He also got spun out at one point, and he ended up getting spun out late, and it gave him damage. He was falling back late. But another race, Bell looked like a contender. I think it might have been Brad.
It was either Brad or Ricky. There was like 2 kerfuffles in that last run.
But is that your word of the day, Kevin Harvick?
I don't know what else to call it. What else do I call it? I
don't know.
A hookup? Other inappropriate words?
So that Jackson, since you were at Chicago... you wanted to talk about some of the things that you experienced there as well, and I asked you kind of about it earlier, how in the know you were about the events, but a lot of people who went, I assume, were casuals, and you wanted to talk about the track's announcers, the PA, when they weren't
Yeah.
playing MRN.
Yeah, I'm very interested to hear about
Yeah.
this.
It's okay. I understand it's a not to be like, but like, I understand. I'm hitting the two Venn diagrams here.
What? No, go ahead. Go. We want to hear it.
I'm in this Venn diagram of NASCAR fan, Chicago resident, right? Like there's an overlap here. It's not big. So I knew obviously bracing going in, I'm like, okay, this is an event to recruit people, everything. I am not the target audience for this event necessarily. But that being said, the PA, it was worse on Saturday than it was on Sunday. I'll give them that. It was very just over explaining everything. And the stuff they were over explaining was very odd. It was very like,
this is what the brake pedal does.
Look at that. Look at them do this. Look at
They're
that.
going side by side.
They're going
Zach, it
side
sounds
by
like
side.
It sounds like a Wii
And not in,
Sports
like,
announcer.
Yes, yeah. That's what it felt like. It was like, oh my God, Kyle Larson and Shane Van Gisbergen are side by side through turn 6. Whereas like MRN would be like Larson and Van Gisbergen, and like the tone and vibe was just very different, and it felt very like, wow, look at that, guys. They were selling it to us versus just like letting it happen.
It's like you're watching the Super Bowl on the Nickelodeon Kids broadcast.
Boom. Yes. Except for I'm at the race.
Yeah,
yes.
And you paid to be there. You paid to be there.
So, and at first I was like, okay, maybe I'm just like snobby, whatever. Like, I can't believe they're explaining this stuff. But then I'm like, they're explaining that the choose rule, which was introduced whatever years ago, and is drivers choose their lane. You don't need to explain the choose rule. That's not like something that like it can kind of just, you could say, oh, time for the choose. They're choosing their lane. Like, you don't need to. Just the way everything was presented was just a very awkward tone. And the other thing I thought about was like the one when I was like, maybe I'm just being like snobby, whatever. But then I was like, okay, if I'm a Formula One, like if I'm like a loyal Formula One fan that lives in Chicago, and I'm like, I don't care about NASCAR, but it's a street race coming to the city where I live in. I'll go check it out. I'm gonna go see what NASCAR's about.
Yeah, true.
And you go to this NASCAR race, and then there's these guys on the PA going like, wow, they're side by side through the corner. Like, that's just like
the movement you just made.
But that's what I mean. I don't know if my voice is conveying what it felt.
I get it. No, I understand the frustration. I don't.
So then, when I thought about it in that, I was like, if I'm a Formula One fan coming to this is so dorky. The other thing that kills me about the PA, it's my only complaint about the whole weekend was the PA, literally. Okay. The other thing that gets me is the crowd work. They try to do so much crowd work, and it's awful because they do it so often and nobody cares anyway. The thing I hate most about I love the Chicago Cubs. They don't have a host. They don't have an in-game host that's like, we're gonna play the game. They don't have an in-game host, and they never do make some noise, like any of that stuff.
The Royals do that all the time when they go to a Royals
game.
It's
awful. And it's off. It doesn't work because you do it all the time. And so when Jose and Daryl and Caitlin are like, make some noise for and it's just like, first of all, no one cares. Also, you're doing it every 30 seconds. Also, this is a 2.2 mile circuit. There's like 100 people in this grid. You're not going to get a crowd reaction.
Not like a stadium.
Anyway. Yeah. So it was just awkward on the PA, and like, I know it's kind of annoying, but also like that's how people engage with the event. Obviously, is like through this presentation, and if the presentation's awkward,
it should be presented more like how a normal race is, like seriously.
Yeah, like give the fans what they're going to get if they go to other races. I don't know, which I guess it is kind of what you get at other races, but
people will take NASCAR seriously if NASCAR takes themselves seriously.
Yes, which is the same thing as like Fox versus NBC, right? Like NBC takes NASCAR seriously, and it makes it like that's why that part of the season is more. They make the playoffs interesting. They make this whole part of the season compelling is because they take it seriously. And I don't know, it was just kind of disappointing that like this whole event is like going on and then like, oh, here's the caution crew with pizza or whatever. I don't know.
Eat the food. Highlight of my weekend, watching it on TV to compare experiences. Anytime Brad Doherty was on the analyst desk And I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be talking about racing, but he's like, "Yo, man, that food is so good, man. I love that deep dip pizza. Oh, Chicago's the greatest food in the world, man." Like, every time he's bringing up food so much. And I guess that was their bit. I guess that was just their bit of the weekend. And it, like, was it annoying? I guess, but it was also hilarious. Because I relate to Brad Doherty so much as someone who loves food, obviously. Like, I'm just like, I want to go to Chicago now and eat all that food and go watch NASCAR. Like, that sounds great. So,
Gosh.
Brad Doherty was the character. It's Slay of the Weekend of Brad Doherty.
All right.
Oh, yeah, man.
So, let's wrap up this segment, then we'll talk about the points. We all want the Chicago Street Course to come back next year.
Girl.
Yes.
But there was a survey that was posted, I think, by the city of Chicago, and the Chicago Tribune's reporting it. I don't know exactly. But there was a survey of Chicago residents that says the event is less of a hassle than expected for Chicago residents, but they would like it to be off the 4th of July weekend so they can use Grant Park on that weekend and everything. And Jackson, you are a Chicago resident. I'm just curious, where should they put Chicago on the schedule if it were to stay? And 2, is that kind of the general consensus that you've kind of seen as well? Just that people like it, but they want it to move?
Yeah, but I think you're going to find I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. I think that's
okay.
What did they do in Grant Park before NASCAR Chicago? Like during July 4th?
That's the thing, is that there's kind of always something of
like
varying.
Would they have had like fireworks
scale.
They're
like, I don't think there were fireworks this year. It was like a whole thing actually, like about the fireworks this year, but like with Navy Pier, I don't know. But yeah, I don't have a good answer for that. I mean, like, I would say probably the biggest event, like in terms of like the Grant Park calendar, is like Lollapalooza, but that's like later, and I can't imagine NASCAR would want it like later, pushing towards playoff time. I think it would have to be like,
Right.
an early, it's like June to July
Yeah.
is like the window.
I mean,
but like,
can't you just
kind of
have
hard
it
because the time
like
of
the
year
weekend
that
after?
I don't know. I don't have a good answer. I agree that like the 4th of July is like already like a big weekend, but I think I don't know. I don't have a good I don't have a good answer on that one.
Okay. And with that, Zach, would you like to pull up the point standings? Would you?
Can I just say?
Oh, no.
I think
the answer is no. Continue.
No, actually, I wasn't finished. My thing is, I feel like this event. Someone mentioned it the other day. It's like, is this event like becoming a bit of a crown jewel in NASCAR?
I think it is.
I think it is because you can define crown jewel however you want, but the cultural and I feel like the cultural significance of this race is like making it a crown jewel for me.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's how you can't force a crown. You can't be like,
it's not Bristol Knight's a crown jewel now.
Right. You have to, it's like the crown jewels exist because it's an event and the culture gets built up around it.
It's a different
like
race.
The Indy 500 is the biggest event because it's the biggest event. Like it built into that. Like 350,000 people are there. It's the most watched IndyCar race. Like the Daytona 500 is the most watched NASCAR race. It's the first race of the season. Like the Chicago Street Course race, if you can, you're building a legacy. Like, let the legacy build. If you hop this around different places every 3 years, first of all, I don't think you're going to find a layout like you find in Grant Park. I don't think you can find a city where you're truly going to do something like that. That's good racing, great sites, great like amenity access. Like, you're not going to get in other cities. I think you really got to try to just let this thing build. I know we're talking on like the 3-year timeline. Like next year is kind of like, I feel like it's the vibes are like, yes, it's coming back next year. I feel like, but then you start looking at like the 2 years after, because I think it was like a 3-year, and then there was like another 2 option after that. And like, I feel like I just lean into the 5-year timeline, let this event like build its legacy a little bit. Like, because it's a cool event. It's the coolest NASCAR race. Like,
there's nothing else like it.
And like, there's nothing else like it. And I don't know. I don't know.
And the racing's good. I mean,
jumping into a thing here, but like, the big talking, like, you can't dunk on the racing anymore. You can't dunk on safety anymore. Like, now price is the thing people are complaining about. And like, it's
Oh yeah, I
not
saw
like
that.
I think you get, like, you're getting what you're paying for. I felt like, in my opinion, like, you're getting this, like, this, it's a major sporting event. I don't know.
It is.
So I think it really is like it can reach that crown jewel, like,
It's like
point. Like, this is
NASCAR's Long Beach.
right.
Like
Like, let it
Yeah.
be that.
NASCAR needs
So,
an event like this, and
and
it's such a big deal.
yeah.
And I would like to see it on the schedule, every year,
Yeah.
right?
And
And-
As this big
also,
event.
I feel like I need to clarify. I'm not calling it the Daytona 500 in year 3, but I am saying it was NBC's
But it
most
has that
watched
potential.
broadcast,
Yeah.
and it's like, it has all these pieces that, like, come together. It's like, this is a cool event, and don't think just because it's working here you can jump up and plop this down in, like, Denver or wherever and say it's
Yeah.
going to work
Right.
the same way. Like, if it's
Like,
working,
there's
let it
something
work, and it's expensive, but, like, I don't know.
There's something special
that's-
here, and we don't want to ruin it.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
two things I want to say is that one, the LA Coliseum race is nowhere near the prestige that this has been. That's why that's going away.
No. Yeah.
And two, you're right. I don't think you could. There's been a lot of like rumors and discussion about a Denver race, whether it's IndyCar or NASCAR. I don't think that would be nearly the same level because Chicago is Chicago.
It's Chicago.
Right.
The
And,
food,
yeah.
man.
It's right behind LA
It's-
and New York. Like it is a huge
Right.
deal to
And
be in
it's-
Chicago.
Right. But it's not like LA or New York, because, like, New York is like New York, and, like, LA is like LA.
Or
But
Las
Chicago
Vegas
still
even.
has that, like, yeah, like, Chicago has that, like, Midwestern, like,
Yeah.
bit in
There's a-
there. And that's why I live here. That's why I love it. It's because it's a major city, but it's
Yeah.
still got the, like, Midwestern, like, that, like, culture and, like,
It's
charm
humble.
to it from the Midwest. And it's humble. It's like it's like a hard working town.
It
and,
reminds
like,
me of
it's-
Richmond, Virginia. It reminds me of
Yeah,
that a
yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of even history of racing in Chicago at Soldier Field way back in the day, right? So there's even like a bit of a history connection. I just think that's why I wanted to bring that up, and I love what you had to say, Jackson. I just think I really appreciate this event. No, I do not wish we were at Chicagoland.
Oh my
No.
God!
No one would have been there.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah, like this is.
I'm
such
glad.
A big
I'm glad
deal.
it took us 47 minutes to bring up Chicagoland. That's
Yeah,
ugh.
but if they want to move
It
it, off
would have been a
July
good
4th,
race, but yeah.
that's fine. Like we could have Daytona July 4th go to Chicago Street next week, or
Or the other
maybe
way
put
around.
Chicago, yeah, and then all those Chicago fans
Then
get to
just go
see
watch
Daytona.
Daytona.
Let me
Cooking
cook.
something up here.
Let me cook. All right.
All right. So Zach, are you
Okay.
ready to pull up the
Yes.
graphic now?
Yeah, sorry for cutting you off. Joey, but aren't you glad I cut you off? Because that was a great discussion we just had.
It was a good segment.
Yeah.
But here's our point standings. And as you can see, or if you're listening, I'll tell you, we have 12 winners now in the NASCAR Cup Series. There are only 4 spots open in the playoffs remaining. And Jackson, you and I briefly texted about this, I think last night. Could we get 16 winners? Like that did not seem plausible not that long ago. I don't necessarily think we will, right? But you look at the 4 who are currently in on points, no win. That's Truex, Ty Gibbs, Ross Chastain, Chris Buescher. I could see all 4 of them winning a race, right? Like I don't necessarily think
yeah.
someone on the outside, unless we get something crazy at Daytona. I don't think that'll happen, but all 4 of the guys in on points could get a win. We could get there. I don't think it's likely, but it's something to think about.
Yeah, something would have to happen. Like you'd have to get fuel mileage at Pocono or Indianapolis, and then like
Or Richmond. even, like,
Daytona,
tire strategy.
whatever. Yeah, but like, I mean, it would require, the 4 up there to win, and like the other thing I'm like you notice here is like you have the 4-3 winners like Bell, Larson, Hamlin, Byron. That's like I guess your championship 4 kind of favorites right now.
Yeah.
But then all these 1-win guys. And some of these 1-win guys are going to get another one, right? Like whether it's like Reddick
maybe.
or Elliott. Like I would assume like Reddick and Elliott would get one in here somewhere. Like Larson's going to win another one. But like I assume we'll get at least 1 or 2 new winners. I think would kind of be my call the rest of the way. But I think it's going to come. It's not going to be. I think it's going to be maybe Ty will get his first win one of these weeks.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
And I
my
mean,
thing.
you look at these 4 too, they've all been really close. Buescher was close twice. Chastain was close at Nashville before all the cautions. Ty Gibbs was leading a lot at Chicago, and Truex
Truex
was
should have won
close at
Richmond.
Richmond. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so we're not that far away. Like, we could have easily had 16 winners, but the reality is we're not. And that's the kind of the thing with this next gen era. We still have a lot of parity because I feel like before the next gen era, it was really hard to care about the people battling for 16th. But now I'm like, well, hell, Chris Buescher and Bubba Wallace. I mean, like at Richmond, both of them run good at Richmond. Like they could be fighting for a win at Richmond. You never know, right? Like Chase Briscoe even's been running a front. Kyle Busch, yeah, I like, he's washed, but he could win. He's Kyle Busch.
Right.
You can't count him out.
See, I hear that, but I think I understand the bubbles, like the storyline, whatever. But I feel like that's why. I mean, I haven't brought up to playoff points. I think are the bigger thing because like Chris Buescher's not winning the championship. Bubba Wallace isn't winning the championship. Like, I think these guys aren't. Kyle Busch isn't winning the championship. Like, you see them and you're comparing them to each other, but like,
wow,
these guys are winning the championship. The guys that
someone on the left side of the screen is winning the championship.
Right.
That's
someone
10 guys
has wins. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah,
There's a reason they're down here. There's a reason they're fighting for the bubble.
I don't know, man. It's the playoff. You never know. I mean, Blaney kind of came out of nowhere last year. I'm just saying. So
he paid attention. He did not.
I don't think he did. Right.
If you paid attention, I'm gonna slap the hell out of you.
Focusing on the bubble. If you're only focusing on the bubble or who's winning the race, then maybe. But you gotta look at that. That's the second tier.
14th place average finish last year. Where was he? What?
Winning the championship.
I know because he didn't come alive until we won Talladega. He wasn't doing anything before we won Talladega. Are you kidding me?
News.
Anyway, you're hung up because Kyle Larson didn't win last year. You still crying. But anyway,
you are literally gay. Oh my god!
Yeah, it's in the title of the podcast. That's why we called it the Gay Racing Podcast.
You're
gay
so
too.
Mean.
I am mean.
You're so mean.
Anyway, I do want to shout out Todd Gilliland, who we are cutting off here with our picture for the video
I
watchers.
can zoom it out, I guess.
Todd Gilliland was running third at a point. I don't think he's necessarily going to win and make the playoffs or anything, but like this is a really impressive run for him. I think like he was essentially pushed out of this ride for 1 year for a couple of races for Zane Smith, and look at him now. He's outrunning Michael McDowell. Like I think that's really impressive and is notable. But yeah, I think our 16 we got is locked in. I agree, and I think the 16 we got's gonna be locked in, but I think there's a chance that the 4 not with the win.
Yeah,
get a win.
I think it's hard for any of the guys below the cut line to make up that much ground, right?
But, I mean, we are going to Pocono. Weird things have happened there. The Brickyard 400's back. That could be a fuel mileage race. I mean, Paul Menard won that race in 2011. You know,
we got Pocono, Indy. We got Richmond. We have like a bunch of strategy races coming up. Michigan, even a lot of big tracks, short tracks.
And there's still Daytona
and Darlington. Even Darlington has had a lot of weird winners in the past.
Eric Jones has won there.
It's gonna be an interesting run to the playoffs. And I'd say if I had to pick anyone to jump the cut line and jump in, I low-key want to say it's gonna be Bubba because he's got some good tracks coming up. 2311 has speed. They're showing it with Reddick, and if they play it smart and they execute good, and honestly, 45 points, they can make up 45 points in 6 races too. They might not even have to win, but they've got to clean it up.
For sure. Yeah. I think he's the only one who can make it on points still. That's not in the top 16.
Yeah.
Well, and with that, Zach, we're going to move on, and Jackson's going to stay with us, right, Jackson? You're still able to?
Yeah, for a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, for a little bit.
So we're moving on. I know we're pushing an hour here, but that's fine. We're going into F1. We have a lot to talk about this week. Formula One, I think, actually had the best race of the weekend, which weird. They were having the British Grand Prix in Silverstone, and Lewis Hamilton is back. He won top of the podium, his 9th win in the British Grand Prix.
I have a little
and
card. Go Lewis.
Yeah, you have a little picture. And
Yeah.
Zach, you and I were talking. This is like if Jimmy Johnson won in his farewell season in 2020. If he won at
What?
Fontana or Dover or like even the 600.
It's like that kind of
it felt like
vibe.
that.
He's not retired.
Well, I know, but like I'm just saying, like, you know, Lewis, biggest champion of the sport, right? But then
hasn't won in a long time.
After he won his last championship, went on a bit of a decline, right? Team or whatever. Because Hendrick went on a decline a little bit too after Jimmy won his 7th. But like, but to now come back to Silverstone, his home Grand Prix, a Grand Prix that he has won, I believe, 8 times before, for this race to be the race that he breaks that winless streak, to make this kind of comeback, if you want to call it a comeback, to beat Verstappen, to beat Norris, to execute perfectly, that's a huge deal, right? And the way that he was just celebrating, carrying the British flag, saluting the fans, taking his sweet ass time as he should, getting to the interviews and everything he needs to do, all the obligations. It was kind of like when I saw Elio win the Indy 500 on TV. Like, I had goosebumps. Yeah. You know, it was one of those moments where it's like if Jimmy ever won in 2020, that's what that moment would have been like. That's why I kind of brought that up to Alex yesterday. And it's just, I'm so like, every time when Lewis was doing all that cool stuff in 2020, at that time, I was starting to kind of appreciate his greatness. And this is kind of one of these moments that kind of brings me back to that. I just appreciate him so much for what he's done. I kind of consider him my favorite F1 driver because, you know, anytime I paid attention to F1 growing up, Lewis Hamilton, right? He was the guy. He's kind of the face of the sport for me. And it's so important for a lot of people to see him back in victory lane. Such a big deal. And with Mercedes as well.
He very well might not win again. I know he's going to Ferrari, but I mean, there's a lot of issues over there. There are a lot of issues at Ferrari. But I don't know for sure if we've seen a decline with Lewis or not, because it seems to be a Mercedes issue as well.
Oh no. George has been winning races. Well, 2 races, I guess. Like
2.
Yes,
slow your roll
still.
Here. Yeah.
But he's been also getting beat by George sometimes.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I think it's fair to say that he's been declining a little bit.
So you could tell that Lewis, despite this being his 104th win, was really soaking this in. So I think he knows it very well could be the last one. Hopefully it's not. But I think he understands, like, there were points he didn't think he was going to win again. And he was really soaking it in, like, wow, this really might be it. I want to really embrace this moment.
Yeah,
I think,
it's hard
like
not to be happy.
You said, it's the same thing with Elio a few years ago at the 500.
Yeah. It's hard not to be happy for him. And, you know, he could die. One day he's going to die and know he won that race. You know what I mean? Like, that's probably all he really needs. Or as a competitor, he definitely wants more, of course. Right. But that's, it's just, how can he not be happy for that? Right. And there's so much respect. It was like someone tweeted yesterday, it was kind of like Dale winning the 598. It's just like, I think Verstappen was kind of like going like, you know, giving him a thumbs up after on the cooldown lap. I think Lando was too. I think everyone was, like, almost all of the drivers that passed him on the cooldown lap, right? Like, such a cool moment. Everyone respects him. It's a big deal.
Yep. And in this race, Verstappen wasn't the best car, which I think made it interesting. That's kind of been the case the past few weeks if you're not following F1.
He's not immortal anymore. I mean, even when he is leading, it's not a huge gap. Like, Lando will be there or catching him.
Yeah.
You know,
McLaren is caught up. And Verstappen was still closing at the end. He was on the right tire at the end. And then McLaren, they threw a chance away at winning the race. They had a slow stop for Oscar. They put I think they put Lando on the wrong tire as well.
They put Lando on softs, and he just didn't have that pace in the closing laps. Yeah. Verstappen literally just sailed on by him for P2.
Yeah.
I think if they put him on mediums, I think Lando could have had a chance at probably could have had a chance at Lewis. I mean, he was leading at. I mean, well, really, to be fair, a lot of people got a chance to lead because there was a lot of chaos going on with the rain, a lot of variation in pace. There was at one point earlier in the race, there were like 6 cars in under like a few seconds, kind of nose to tail trailing each other. It was a pretty cool little scrap going on there. But
you talk about chaos, lots of variation, exciting. Now we're going to talk about the complete opposite, because now we're going to talk about IndyCar at Mid-Ohio. And let me tell you, sleeping emoji. I don't care. It's rough. IndyCar's in a rough patch right now. And
Yeah,
Jackson,
it's like a big weekend for them because it's like their new hybrid technology, and we'll get into
Jackson,
that.
you got to watch this at Grand Park at the NASCAR race. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
At least while the
it
weather
And
was
was.
still
It was
nice.
nice. Yeah, it was nice. I was just, on a park bench watching IndyCar on my phone. It's nice.
that's so fun.
The
So
environment
fun.
made it tolerable, I guess.
But this race was very lackluster. I was so out of it, man. And genuinely, I really, really am trying to care about IndyCar right now. I think I've just fallen off a cliff after Thermal. And Indy 500 brought me back. And obviously Joseph winning was huge for me personally and everything, but they lost their mojo. IndyCar has, and I want
Like
to
we
make a
used to
video
call them
talking
the
about
best
that.
racing.
Yeah,
Like they were
it's
the
just
best
not right
racing.
now.
And I don't even know if much has changed. Maybe Alex, maybe we've changed. Maybe we've changed.
Maybe,
I don't
but
know.
statistically, there were less passes in this race in the past 2 Mid Ohio races, and this was, of course, as you said, Zach, the debut of the
I mean,
hybrids. Yeah.
Pato couldn't even get by the lap cars. Maybe he didn't want to.
Well, and by
Right?
the way, Pato Award did win this race, but he got around Pillow because Pillow had a slow stop. It wasn't even like a proper pass, which that's fine. That
It
happens.
was still
That's fun.
exciting. Yeah.
That was the moment of the race, and it was fun to watch. And that
That's what
happens.
racing's
Cool.
about.
Good for Pato. He breaks his winless streak of winning races where he finished the line first, right?
Right.
It's been a couple of years since Pato had won a race.
I think it was
like that.
Barber in 2022
It
or
was
something.
Iowa.
It was
Wasn't it
Iowa.
Iowa 2022.
Oh, we were there. Oh,
Yeah. So it's
we
been a
were all
while.
there.
Oh, okay. That's fun. All right. Shoot.
So-
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that was like the only highlight of the race, honestly. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Those races happen, but I feel like every IndyCar race is kind of like that right now.
Mid
And the
Ohio's
hybrids,
kind of always like that. I think Mid Ohio and
Yeah.
Laguna Seca are both these really technical road courses that don't lend themselves to the best racing, and having them not even back to back, 2 races in a row, probably not
Yeah.
the best, right? But and you're about to bring up the hybrids.
Yeah, and for me, I just don't care. I don't care.
Because you're gay.
It's yes, but look,
no,
the series.
I have a lot to say. Yeah,
the series wants us to care, right? NASCAR has their
Yeah,
flashy thing. They're in
that's-
Chicago. F1 has their flashy thing with everything, and Lewis
it's basically
Hamilton
their
won.
home race, like F1. Like it's a big deal. Silverstone.
Yeah,
is.
that's yeah. And then IndyCar, they're at a mediocre track.
They should have been at an oval.
They're debuting these hybrids,
Imagine if
and
they were
it's
at
just
Texas. Imagine if they were at Texas this weekend.
but no one cares. Even if it was an oval, I don't think anyone would care.
I think it at least would have been.
And by
like
the way,
something.
NASCAR, I guess it goes into T a little bit. NASCAR unveiled an electric car, same weekend.
That's funny.
So
And
it's just
honestly,
That is
more
actually
people
funny.
are talking about the electric car in NASCAR, like NASCAR's
Yes.
electric
Well,
car. We'll get into that, but like on IndyCar's hybrid thing, my thing is I thought it would be cool because I'm like, oh wow, this is a whole new thing. The performance will be different. Teams are gonna have to adapt to this. Girl,
It's the
it's
exact same.
because here's the
Isn't
thing.
it-
It's not like a. Go ahead, Jackson. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna. I mean, I could have read about it before this weekend, but I'm gonna say I was busy this weekend, so whatever. But how
You
is this
were.
different from ERS and?
So I will
F1.
explain. So
Okay.
the major difference is that F1, they're not only this current generation, but when they went into the hybrid era, that chassis was designed with hybrids in mind. The chassis had enough space for a actual lithium ion battery, if I'm correct. I might be wrong. So that battery is able to store a lot of energy long term. So you could go a few laps not deploying that energy, but then use all that energy in just like a 1 or 2 laps and make a lot of progress or whatever, right? Make a lot of moves or whatever. That's kind of the idea. The problem with IndyCar is that the chassis is still the same, and they had to kind of redneck this hybrid system into the
Right.
current chassis.
'Cause
They
the
are
engine
not
had to
using
change, and
they are not using a lithium ion battery. They are using what's called a supercapacitor. What is
I
that? I have no clue. But what I do know is that does not hold a lot of charge. It's not like a battery. So what that means, I feel like Larry McReynolds right now. So what that
I don't know if
means-
anything you're saying is factual.
No, No, it is. I actually know what I'm talking about. I do know what I'm talking about. I saw things. But what this means is that, like, I'm serious. So this battery.
This sounds correct based on what I've heard.
Thank you, Jackson.
Sounds right.
Alex is over here gaslighting me.
just
Gay people don't know anything about cars. Zack doesn't know what he's talking about. But the super capacitor doesn't hold a lot of charge. So, like, they're going to be able to charge that battery. And, like, from what I heard, it was either in a David Land video or the James Hinchcliffe, like, thing, 2 corners at Mid-Ohio. They can charge that battery in 2 corners. So, like, what's it actually... my point is, what's it actually changing to the racing? Because I think all it's doing is the drivers have to hit a button on the straightaways now. That's it. And they're all doing it. So, like, what's the difference? Like, they're going faster, I guess, but, like, it didn't make a difference yesterday.
Drivers for hitting a button. I thought that's what we were doing now.
Oh. They're hitting buttons now. They're hitting more buttons. It's Penske's plan to hide the fact that they're pressing push to pass illegally.
Oh, right.
God.
Obviously in Mid-Ohio, I mean, maybe that's just one example. Mid-Ohio, right? And there's no telling what this is going to do to the oval races, which I think that's going to be more interesting because it's going to be harder to recharge the battery or the super capacitor, right? But it didn't help passing yesterday. Maybe it even hurt passing because if everyone's on the button, how are you going to overtake someone if they're also going faster? You know, I don't know if that really makes a difference, but
and the other thing is that NBC's graphics were so flashy. There's too much going on. So again, flop of the week, NBC graphics. Like, it was too much.
You can have a cool technological innovation without it necessarily needing to be like a competitive like thing. Like I can understand and appreciate like why this is a cool invention. Like, you change the engine, like you're introducing some new technology, and like that's cool, but like you don't have to act like it's gonna make the competition. I think that's maybe where they sold it. I don't know.
Yes.
But I don't know. That's where
they
it's
made
kind
a
of like
really
hitting in
deal.
a weird spot. Yeah, I don't know.
They made this a really big deal. And calling it a hybrid system is kind of weird because, like, the car is hybrid, but what you added is an electric component. So call it like a ERS thing. Whatever. I guess it doesn't make a difference. But, like, they made it this huge deal when really it's not really changing anything. And they had NBC make this whole graphic for it that was doing absolutely nothing. They might as well have put throttle and brake on the ticker because that's how active it was. In the corners, it's red, and on the straightaways, it's green. It's flashing red and green the entire time. Like, what are we?
You could watch the corners go by the pylon. You could watch like a wave of red go down, and then watch a wave of green.
Like, what is that adding?
So goofy.
Like, yes, I know the drivers are slowing down for the corner. Thank you, NBC. I would have never known that. Right?
Yeah. Well, one more thing with this IndyCar race. Joseph Newgarden had a typical road course race for him lately. And
like, what is he doing?
Disastrous race, finished 25th. He had several speeding penalties, which he and Team Penske say was like a mechanical issue. He said that he was on the number right and he was speeding. He went off track at a point.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that he did.
This is hard to watch.
Like, yeah, he's running off track, making mistakes. Yeah.
Has he... Like, this seems new. Like,
well, he almost won Road America, which doesn't make sense to me.
Like, why is he... It's weird.
Like, what happened? And, like, Alex Palou still running up front. The hybrids didn't even change that much with the running order, to be honest. Like, so what is... Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Joseph because he's not locked in.
Well, I told you before we started recording, Zach, that Joseph locked in for 2 days, Indy 500 qualifying and the Indy 500. Other than that, he's just kind of been absent the past 2 years outside of like Iowa.
Well, even St. Pete, like he obviously put on a really good show at St. Pete, and he probably would have won that race if they were cheating or not, right? Like, I think that's pretty obvious. And again, he almost won Road America. It's just I don't know what's going on with this too. It's the whole team, maybe. Maybe it's not just Joseph. Maybe it's this whole team. Because,
they're just guilty. Maybe the vibes are down.
Maybe because
they were like
there
this
were some
at the end of last year. They were like this at the end of last year too.
That's also
like Joseph
true.
has been struggling on road courses for a while.
So,
but because Scott McLaughlin, though, Scott McLaughlin looks great.
Maybe
Yeah.
just. Oh yeah.
So weird. Regarding points, who cares? Pelot's 48 points ahead. So moving on.
Scott Dixon had an issue yesterday, and he lost ground in the standings.
Yeah,
so.
I think Dixon's like minus 70 something, but Pelot's winning
Congratulations,
championship.
Alex Pelot, on the 2024 Astor Cup.
The T. We talked about the NASCAR electric car. The thing I want to talk about is that it apparently can do 1,400 horsepower. So
I can't explain this one. I don't know. I can't Larry Mac this one. I'm sorry, Alex.
Is this how we get?
I got to see it.
More horsepower? Well, yes.
in Cup.
I've been saying that for a while. If we want more horsepower, then like a hybrid component is probably what NASCAR is going to have to do, which I don't think that's a horrible idea. And that's probably what they're going to do in a few years. And I think that would be really cool. If that's how we get more horsepower, then that's how we get more horsepower. I mean, why am I going to complain about that, right? The whole the whole controversy this weekend with of course all the rednecks and all the boomers are like, I don't want NASCAR to go electric. This is not what I paid for. This is some liberal media propaganda. I don't want this, right? Bro, it's just a little science. I don't even want to call it a science experiment because they know what they're doing. They partner with ABB, which I believe they run Formula E, or they're very involved in Formula E. I might be wrong.
I don't know.
So like ABB knows what they're doing, right? And I think it's important. I mean, it's important for NASCAR to experiment with this technology. I made a tweet that says everything about this makes sense. People were like, oh, it's so ugly. It's a crossover. Well, if it's an electric car, you need space for batteries, and crossovers are bigger in the back. So that makes sense. Oh, it has a wing. Well, you can't put a spoiler on a crossover. That looks stupid. So you put a wing on it, right? It makes sense, you know? And why are they experimenting with this technology? Because I don't know if fully electric is the future. There's debate about that. But certainly, at least some kind of hybrid or some kind of electric component is going to be necessary soon. Experimenting with this technology, even at best or at worst or whatever, it could just be a side little series. I think that would be very interesting, to be honest. I think that would be really cool.
What if they just went to like the road courses or something? It was like a sprint series that was like,
yeah, because that's the thing. I don't think they would be able to do any big ovals because they'd have to recharge. I assume so. Like maybe it does like road courses and short tracks. I think that'd be something fun. I just don't think it's a big deal. Like it is a big deal, but it's not like the Cup cars are going to be fully electric next year. I think that's what some people are like. Oh, like
I definitely think this is going to be a series or something because it's a whole car. Like I thought it was just going to be like a Gen 7 with like the component in there, but it's like an actual brand new car that doesn't look like anything like Xfinity Cup.
They're not going to run that in Cup. That's not going to be the Cup car. I think some rednecks are thinking it's going to be the Cup car or something.
I think it's going to be a brand new mini series. I think what Jackson described is probably what similar to what's actually going to happen someday. I don't know when. Cool. Could be several years from now, but
it'd be fun. I would like 8 races, a little 8 race calendar, maybe on short tracks, road courses. That'd be cool. Put David Reagan in it. Harrison Burton will have somewhere to drive.
Speak of Harrison Burton, we have 2 more silly season things. The Wood brothers, they have signed Josh Berry to replace Harrison Burton next year in the 21 car. And Zach, you and I had called for this to happen a few weeks ago on here.
Yes.
No word on if Rodney Childers is following him or not.
Okay, that's like the pepperoni on the pizza. Rodney Childers. That's the pepperoni on the pizza. That's what. Like, come on, man. Like, get Rodney, please.
Penske's got to do it, right? Like, it's such a slam dunk. Like, come on. You know Rodney would do it. That's his first choice, is to go with Josh Berry.
Like they're literally married. They should just get married to each other. They're in love. I've never seen a love story like Rodney Childers and Josh Berry. Like, please, you can't take them apart. That'd be like Chad and Jimmy separating. You know, they did separate, but still.
But I will say that this was a great move by Wood Brothers. I think he fits the Wood Brothers mantra so well. Josh Berry does.
He's just
it's a perfect fit.
Such a fit.
If I had to predict where Harrison Burton's going to go, I think he's probably going to go to the Xfinity Haas team. China.
China. Your ass is going to China.
God. And then another silly season thing, and it's the weekly Arrow McLaren new driver signing. This week they have signed Christian Lundgaard to replace Alexander Rossi next year.
Okay.
And the Twink Factory rolls on.
But listen, the McLaren haters, I guess I'll call them, they kind of overreacted a little bit. They're like, McLaren's firing another driver again. They didn't.
Rossi's contract's been up, and Rossi's probably like, I don't want to get kicked out later, so I'm just gonna go. Like that's probably literally what happened.
I'm tired of having new twinks in the 6 car that I have to meet their name. He was just tired of meeting new people.
He hates doing the introductions. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
This is the most normal announcement they've had in months.
And it's expected.
Actually.
Like it makes too much sense.
It's just because Rossi's like a popular guy. I think people got a little offended by it. But the question is now, where does Rossi go?
He could replace Lundgaard in the 45, but
were people talking about him like with Sargent at the? Is that I don't?
Oh,
I
at
don't know.
Prema, that was a rumor. I heard.
Season. Yeah,
there is a rumor that he could be the veteran that Prema wants to have next year.
A horrible idea
for their new team.
I'll tell you what. Maybe what Penske could do, they could have Joseph in the 2 car at the ovals, and then at the road courses they put Rossi in it.
Oh my god!
And then they run both of them at Indy.
Yeah, the 22 car comes back at Indy.
Oh my god!
Okay.
I mean,
that'd be cool. I do want Penske to bring back the 22 car Indy. Get somebody in there. Yeah. Weird off-topic thing.
Blaney, put Ryan.
Yeah. Zack's just a Blaney hater.
I don't think his mullet's gonna fit in the helmet.
Well, I don't think he's gonna win, but let him drive around.
Let him drive around. This is the Indy 500, dude. What? He can buy iRacing if he wants to drive around. Like, what do you mean? You don't just go to the Indy 500 to drive around unless you're like R.C. Anderson. Like, come on.
Oh my god! Wow.
Okay, Zack, are we ready to make fantasy picks?
I'm sweating already. Jesus Lord.
It is now tied up for both Pocono or NASCAR. We're going NASCAR Pocono, and IndyCar's going to Iowa. It's stuff tied up. Yes.
Before you pick, I want to point out back in the Kansas episode, we made those 3 picks. It was Reddick, Keselowski, whoever was it, Busher, right?
That's right.
And they were the 3 at the end of that race. So
we're smart.
Anyway, I just wanted to.
We are so smart.
There.
I just like how I picked Ty Gibbs twice on road courses this year, and he's finished 3rd. I'm like, all right, consistent. Thank you, Ty. Sorry, I'm trying to replace. I'm trying to replace the screen sharing. I'm a little.
It's
dumb.
Okay. Take your time.
I am taking my time. There we go. All right.
All right. Fantasy. We're not doing the thing where Jackson steals a pick. We don't. No, we're not doing that.
This is a serious.
No game. Mickey Mouse. Yeah.
Yep. All right.
I'm almost ready.
Move this. Okay. I got a pick, Zack. Are you ready?
All right. I also have a pick. So 3, 2, 1. I'm trying to pick Denny Hamlin, and Alex is picking Kyle Larson.
Fair enough.
Well, we are both going to finish. We're
going to finish 36 and 35th because we're going to crash each other.
Well, I actually thought you were going to go with Hamlin, so I just wanted to match him. My actual pick is Tyler Reddick.
Oh, okay.
But my actual pick is Denny Hamlin, obviously. So a little bit of gamesmanship from me. I kind of wish I just went with Reddick. So, well, that's the game.
Jackson, who is your Pocono pick, and who's going to actually win the race?
I was thinking Reddick.
Okay.
I was thinking Reddick.
He's been so fast lately, man. And Denny and Kyle, they're too busy grabbing each other's ass. Like, they're just, I'm serious. They're too busy. Like, I don't know. At some point, there's going to be a boiling point where they wreck each other out. They're going to have a Silverstone moment. I kind of hope it's at Indy. That'd be really cool. They wreck each other for the Brickyard 400. That'd be really cool. Hope that happens.
Agree. Imagine if Larson and Denny have when Truex and Kyle Busch crashed at Indy?
Yeah.
That kind of moment would be intense.
I mean, they're getting more and more aggressive with each other because
it has kind of escalated from
it's because Kyle's gotten really
kind of goofy to it's it's serious now.
Yeah, and the playoffs are looming. I think it's I don't know if it's going to happen at Pocono or Indy. Maybe at Pocono they'll be fine because it's a bit harder to get the elbows out unless it's a restart. So I don't know.
All right. So now IndyCar at Iowa, race 1.
Yeah, we got.
This is on Saturday night, in case you didn't know.
It is,
Saturday
yeah.
night.
So there could be a bit of a different strategy since, like, you have to look back at, I don't know, the only night races that have been happening are like what? Iowa years and years ago and Gateway like 2 years ago. So that's the only.
Gateway is a night race again this year as well.
If you want to consider that into the pick.
All right.
I am ready.
I got a
you
pick.
ready?
Yep.
All right, 3, 2, 1. I'm trying to pick, to no one's surprise, Joseph Newgarden.
There it is.
Might as well have not done that. That was a waste
I
of
put
time.
angry Joseph Newgarden pick at Iowa because he's like, everyone says I'm washed, I'm mad, grr.
Yeah,
So he's gonna like
screw
lead every
Joseph.
lap and win. So
Yeah, no one cares about Joseph. All right, I have another pick.
All right, let me grab
Are you
this.
ready?
I get a feeling.
Ooh, I
we're
know.
gonna be
I know
here
who
for a
I'm
minute.
picking.
I know who I'm picking.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1. I'm trying to pick Scott McLaughlin, and Alex is trying to pick Pato Award. Good, nice.
Pato.
I like this.
Yep.
That's fine.
Can I
think-
submit my honorary pick?
For race 1, sure.
Yeah,
Go
sure.
ahead.
What's your
Okay,
pick for race one?
willpower.
He ain't winning. When was
He
the
might
last
win the
time Will Power?
pole.
When was the last time Will Power won on an oval? It's been forever.
Picking
He
Will.
doesn't win on ovals that much. He doesn't have that dog in him for ovals. All right.
I don't know.
Iowa race 2.
All right. I feel like with Power, he always starts up front and then he like just fades. So, all right. I got my pick.
All right. I also have my pick. So 3, 2, 1. I am picking angry Joseph Newgarden.
Yay! There's 2 of them.
That's he's gonna be
Double
mad
angry.
on both days.
Remember last year he was pissed off after winning race 1? That's gonna be him in
Yes.
victory lane.
Oh my god.
We didn't lap him all by 2 laps.
Oh my god. That's funny. All right.
All right. Hold on. Okay. I'm ready.
All right. I am also ready. So 3, 2, 1. I am going to pick Scott McLaughlin again. And Alex is going to pick Scott McLaughlin. Okay.
Oh,
I wonder where you got that idea from.
Blocked. Okay.
Maybe I was blocking you.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know. I have my next pick.
Yep, me too.
All right. 3, 2, 1. I'm trying to pick this twink. Pato Award.
Yep.
I love that picture of Pato. That's really cute.
It is cute.
All right, now I gotta go to my notebook for my next pick. All right. All right. James Hinchcliffe fed me this one. All right. Me and James.
James
were tight.
Hinchcliffe.
James liked my tweet this weekend when he trolled everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cute.
he liked my tweet, so we're besties. We're kind of tight like that. All right, I have my next pick.
I'm trying to decide between 2 of them.
Oh my
Sorry.
God. I'm prepared. With Alex, I write like 6 picks for each series. I'm like, all right, well, here's my 6. I mean, it's Iowa.
I know it's Iowa.
Pick
Okay.
I don't know. I wish Jimmy Johnson was still in IndyCar. That'd be fun.
I know. Okay, I
He
got a
was
pick.
cooking at Iowa when we were there. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right, 3, 2, 1. I'm trying to pick. Oh,
The
I mean,
Mc-
McLaren hat. That's
the
not
McLaren
funny.
hat.
That's not cool. Not the McLaren hat.
All right.
What the hell?
They both picked Pillow.
Yes, we both. Thank you, Jackson. We
I'm
did both
speaking
pick
to
Pillow.
my fellow audio only people.
Um,
Well, I have my next pick. You got to go with the other guy that you were trying to decide between. Why you got to
that's
think
what
about
I'm-
it again?
that's what I'm doing. Calm
Okay,
down.
I thought you had to sit here and think again. Thinking emoji.
It's okay, honey. You can be mad later. Let's go. Count
All
it
right,
down.
you ready? All right, 3, 2, 1. Alex has had a lot of attitude today. I'm picking Scott Dixon, and Alex is going with Alexander Rossi. I was gonna go with
Yes.
Alex if you matched me on Dixon. Okay.
Yeah.
Is Scott Dixon like a bad luck charm? Because I think every time we pick Scott Dixon, whoever picked him,
I might be done picking Dixon because that never works out, I feel like.
Yeah, but he's also won like... I'm sorry. You picked him at Detroit and he won. So never mind.
I'm trying to get you off the Dixon train. It's fine.
I'm submitting my out-of-pocket honorary pick as David Malukas. I think it's going to be insufferable. I think he's going to end up on the podium somehow, and it's going to be...
I thought about it, but I think that's going to be a gateway thing. Because he was never as good as Iowa. It was always a gateway thing. But yeah. Yeah. No comment. Anyway.
So we're going to be fighting we're fighting for second on Saturday night, and we're fighting for 7th on
Oh. God.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, these guys, they literally finished 3rd and 4th at the Indy 500, so they're fast.
They're still good picks. My next one probably would have been Power. But I know I said he fades all the time.
Oh, you
he
really
would have been
like Dixon?
Not really.
I had Felix Rosenquist
there,
on my list. But I had Felix Rosenquist on my list. Watch him. Just watch him.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you, Jackson, for joining us.
Yeah.
Sorry if Alex was mean to you, Jackson. He's been in a mood today.
I don't think he was mean to me.
Alex has been so rude to me.
Oh.
He's finally giving it back. I'm not used to this.
I'm fighting back.
I see.
Yep.
You've had enough.
Yep. I put my foot down. No more. No more bullying.
I don't even know why you would be mad. I was trying to say you're just grumpy. Maybe it's just the Joseph grumpiness.
I'm that picture of Joseph.
Literally.
That pick was probably taken after he qualified 3rd at Iowa and was all mad. Anyway,
probably.
Jackson, where can people find you? What do? You have a website? You do YouTube?
Yeah. I've got 36xracing.com. I got a bunch of NASCAR stuff on there. I can't say it's updated at this moment, but it gets updated pretty regularly. I'm busy. But no, 36xracing.com is kind of my big project right now. I got a YouTube channel. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm really trying to get off of Twitter, but I try not to get on there as much. But yeah.
I get it.
_JTodd14_ Jackson Todd on YouTube, 36xracing.com. Fun stuff.
Love it. And thank you to our listeners and watchers for sticking it out for an hour and a half with us. We are going to wrap it up here.
People love us. We had a good episode. This was a great episode.
I love talking
about Chicago. Chicago street course. I'm so thankful that event's on the schedule. I'm so thankful Lewis Hamilton won Silverstone. And IndyCar.
I should have taken a nap.
I'm thankful Pato won, I guess. He's hot.
He's
cute. He kissed at the camera. He's so cute.
You're saying I'm grumpy, Zach. Maybe I should have taken a nap during IndyCar. I wouldn't be as grumpy.
Yeah.
But
I slept through the start because I woke up early for F1.
Right.
Because my sleep schedule was ruined.
Well, we do have a kind comment of the week. This is from Yabadabs on TikTok.
That's a good name.
I love this comment. They said, "Oh my, I'm so here for cunty NASCAR analysts. New faves. Yes. Let's go."
That was on our video when we were talking about what happened with Cindric, right?
Yeah.
We were really cunty. I was like, I don't know about that, Alex. That looks a little suspicious to me. No, what was Jackson doing earlier? That looks a little suspicious to me. The side to side action. We need to do an over the top. We need to make like a fake, like over the top, like us trying to break down this incident, like an incident. Maybe we could break down the never mind.
You can tell me. You can tell me after we finish the episode.
The thing that happened after the race yesterday.
Okay.
Oh God.
So, if you'd like us to read your kind comment, you can either leave a comment on TikTok or YouTube. You can leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can still do that. I think y'all forgot. You're making Zach really sad that you're not doing that.
Doing
5-star review on Apple.
Oh,
5-star written reviews on Apple.
Sorry, I just made you repeat it. I made you repeat it. 5-star review on Apple.
Yes, and you can do a 5-star review on Spotify. Like and subscribe on YouTube. You can support us on Patreon. Thank you to all people who subscribe on Patreon, by the way. There's like way more than I ever thought there would be.
We haven't made a bonus.
We do need to make. I want to make a video. I want to make a video about why IndyCar is annoying right now.
We should do that this week. We should do that. This week. It's not like I'm working, so.
And then, yeah, patreon.com/gayracingpod. You can get some cool merch from Home Field Apparel. They have McLaren stuff, Hendrick Motorsports stuff. They have IMS stuff, a lot of college sports stuff if you're not just into motorsport. GRP217, that code for 15% off your first purchase. Again, that's GRP217.
Yep, it's 2 for Joseph and then 17 for where he finishes. Not even. He finished 25th at Mid-Ohio. 17th is where he qualifies.
That's his average finish.
That's his average finish.
And then you can follow us on socials at Gay Racing Pod, at Dreamy Zack Racing, and at New Gaiden. And as Jackson said, you can follow him at _JTod14_ on socials.
All
Zach,
right. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you guys next week to talk about NASCAR at Pocono and IndyCar at Iowa. And I don't know if F1's racing. We might not even care. So, but yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Take care. Have fun at Pocono, Jackson.
Yes. Yeah, well, I oh my God, the only races I've gone to this year, it's rained. So Kansas, Indy,
get ready for
Chicago.
Monday, y'all.
And NBC's been having horrible luck with rain this year. So
yeah. So keep it sunny.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.